Welcome to the Throttle Up Leadership Podcast. Our theme for 2025 is the future of work. Meaning is the new money. In a world shaped by rapid innovation and constant change, the pursuit of purpose and impact has never been more important. I'm Dr. John Dentico, your host, bringing over 30 years of experience in leadership, strategic thinking, and purpose-driven innovation. Here, we tackle the pressing challenges of our time, from the rise of artificial intelligence to the growing need for meaning in the workplace. Together, we'll uncover how leaders can ethically integrate AI to enhance decision-making and keep humanity at the heart of their organizations. Remember, amidst all the technological advancements, in the end, it's always about the people. This podcast is your resource for actionable tools, thought-provoking discussions, and inspiring stories. It's time to go beyond leadership development and focus on leadership impact, creating workplaces where people thrive, innovation flourishes, and meaning truly becomes the new currency. Thank you for joining me on this journey. Now, let's throttle up and dive into today's episode. Hello again and welcome to the Throttle Up Leadership Podcast. It's me again, Dr. John Dentico. With me today is RJ Grimshaw. RJ is known as the AI CEO, a passionate advocate for intrapreneurship and business growth. He has spent his career helping companies scale by fostering entrepreneurial mindsets within organizations. As the former CEO of Unify Equipment Finance, he led it from 14 million to 220 million in earning assets, proving that disciplined execution and innovation can drive sustainable success. He now focuses on empowering leaders and businesses to thrive in the AI-driven future, leveraging his ABLE framework to turn uncertainty into measurable growth. And I'm truly pleased and honored to have him with me today. Hello, RJ. How are you?
Hi, Dr. John. I'm doing well, and I appreciate that. I might record that entry there, that intro, and send it to my mom to say, "This is your son. Can you treat me a little bit better?"
Moms are tough. They're tough. Believe me. They're tough.
But I wouldn't be, Dr. John, I would not be who I am today without my mom being who she is.
Yep, there you go.
Yeah.
There you go. So, RJ, I'm trying to add a little bit of a personal touch to my podcast this year. So here's the first question. Tell me a bit about yourself. Where did you grow up? And in what, in your mind, were some of the fundamental influences in your life?
Yeah, that's easy for me. And I've told this story several times. I feel, and as I get older, you realize this with self-reflection, I feel blessed and fortunate that I was born into a family of entrepreneurs. And at the time, I did not realize that. My parents, both of them owned businesses. My dad owned a large construction company, a rigging company. Matter of fact, his handwritten business plan hangs in my office behind me from 1983. And it's a typical business plan that's written in cursive. Younger folks don't even know how to write cursive anymore because of typing. And to give you an idea, the interest rates at the time when they're seeking a loan was 12%. So it's been interesting over the last couple of years with the raise in rates, how business owners have been affected by that. And that's mindset in regards to cash flow and things of that nature. But back to your question. So I was able to witness and watch what it takes to be a successful entrepreneur, as well as the challenges and the ups and downs. And then at the age of 23, God bless my dad, rest in peace, he made a decision to fund his 23-year-old son to start a bar restaurant. And I learned on the job what it was to become an entrepreneur. And we took a vision of that bar restaurant and turned it from a non-revenue producing asset to $1 million in revenue. And my brother, I ended up exiting the business, but my brother ran it for 20 years, over 20 years, which is unheard of in that industry, and sold it and now lives in Las Vegas with his wife. So that really set the groundwork for my entrepreneurship background, primarily because at the age of 30, I had to make a conscious decision That in 1999, my dad passed away, and I had to make a decision, John, if I wanted to go into corporate America or continue this entrepreneur journey that I was so passionate about. And I fell into corporate America and then had a little bit of success, luck around the right people, and started as an individual contributor as a sales rep. And over 13 years, again, luck, right time, right position, worked my way up from individual contributor, sales manager, national sales manager, general manager, director of sales, to ultimately CEO. And that's really where I earned my MBA in terms of running a corporate business with a board and things of that nature. And at the end of the day, there's really three things that I feel have been instrumental in success. And that's a big word to define. But the three things is my mindset of being an entrepreneur and looking at things differently. Second is the support in being surrounded by incredible people on my teams. And then third, the support of my wife and my family to allow me to do what I love doing. Because as a lot of people know, if you're chasing the corporate ladder, you're going to have to relocate. And right. A gentleman by the name of Paul Larkins told me that back in 2001, a matter of fact, and I'll never forget it, sitting at a dinner with him. And he was the CEO of Key Equipment Finance, so a very big bank-run finance company. And he went around the table, and this is what we call today now emerging talent. You've been identified as an up-and-comer. And he asked this profound question, and the question was, he framed it, John, as there's no right or wrong. It's your own personal journey here. And he asked the question, are you willing to relocate for the right opportunity? Went around the table, and at that time I said yes. Matter of fact, hell yes, for the right opportunity. And he said to the table, he said, well, again, there's no right or wrong. However, if your ambition is to climb the corporate ladder and lead people and motivate people, you will have to relocate to do that, because that's the way where opportunities are going to come. And I grew up in a small city in upstate New York, population 12,000 people. Matter of fact, it was on the national news yesterday, John, because of this amount of snow they've received in the last week. They're in the snow belt. So that's a long-winded story, but it's foundational of who I am today and why I'm passionate about, more importantly, people than anything else. It's the people that drive businesses, that have human interactions with each other. And I think that we're at a point of time that is, people remember COVID, people remember people remember 2001, people remember certain things. And I think right now we're going to look back and say, boy, I wish I would have taken the time and not binge watch Netflix, but to dive in and learn more about AI.
Yeah, I have a saying. I would say my life revolves around never be afraid to learn something new.
Well, that's the number one trait of an entrepreneur, is a life learner.
Yeah, that's right. You don't know it today, I'll know it tomorrow, in a manner of speaking. So I appreciate that. So let me ask you this. Where you are right now, does your business have a mission statement? And would you mind telling me, my listeners and viewers, what that mission statement is?
Yeah, the mission statement primarily is empowering leaders with the proper tools.
Great. One sentence. I love it.
It's very, very concise. And the challenge when you have a line like that, it's very open-ended. And I think the world that we live in today, we all as leaders and humans have to be open-minded and not just shut down on the new world of where we're headed. And it's okay if you don't believe we're headed there or don't want to leverage the tools. Just understand you will be impacted eventually. And my goal here is not to scare anyone. It's just to try and shed light and help people. And that's primarily why I landed here. It's an interesting story that we'll get into a little bit, but it's interesting times we live in. And I'm not talking about the political and the world things. I'm just speaking from as a human citizen here in the United States that works within an organization or on their own. The tools at our disposal, and back to the life learning curiosity, John, now you have tools. I can learn about anything I want to within 5 minutes, anything. Yep. And I also have empathy for the people that have learned and studied to have this knowledge base. And I understand now they feel, well, geez, anyone can have this knowledge base. They're missing the point, because at the end of the day, it's about their contextual knowledge that they have to drive these machines. Yeah. And no one can take that away from them.
Right. And I'll just add this piece because of my work in leadership for over 30 years is having the knowledge is great. What you do with that knowledge is in the end the important thing. How you are able to craft knowledge into practice is something that I have spent a lot of years working on and working with other people. So let me move on, if I can, to the next question. I know that strategic thinking is important to you. So I want to ask you this question. How do you differentiate between strategic thinking and strategic planning?
That's a wonderful question, and I would say that that is not one of my strengths. It is when I really focus deep on it. I'm an action guy, and if you look at any assessment that I've taken over my career, I have a high sense of urgency, which is a mixed blessing. What I mean by that is I have been working on, again, self-awareness of taking a step back to think more strategically versus just taking that action. Because when you are an entrepreneur, you read so many books, just take action. Failure is okay, take action. However, where we are today and where I have been studying over the last 6 months, which might seem like a short period of time, but with this technology, it is evolving at such a pace, it's very difficult to keep up with everything. And you tell me, I believe we are experiencing AI fatigue right now. People are tired of hearing the term AI. So the way I position it is I say, let's not talk about AI, let's just talk about prompting. Because it doesn't matter what AI tool you will use in the future. It's all about your contextual knowledge of prompting to drive the outputs of these machines. And that's just focus on that.
Yeah. It's interesting you should say that. I'll just some comments here. I differentiate the difference between strategic planning and strategic thinking this way. Strategic planning, and mostly in organizations, right? You want to try to find answers to questions, right? There are questions, there are goals set by the senior leaders. Strategic thinking is all about making sure you're asking yourself the right questions.
I love that.
Because if you're not, you're going to you're going to throw money at stuff that doesn't matter or doesn't matter as much as really getting to what the real issues are within an organization. And as you well know, RJ, as I like to say, the halls of business are lined with the carcasses of businesses who never asked themselves the hard questions, the real hard questions. So, and I think that's true for AI too, just in many respects as we're launched, if you will, into this whole world. So that's one way of looking at it.
If you don't mind, I have a question for you. Why do you think that is? Is it people are so set in their ways and distracted? Or are they just burnt out because of everything we've been through since COVID and inflation and raising kids? And
Man, that's a great question coming from you, and I think there are several reasons. Number one is, I think sometimes people think if they open up Pandora's box and find issues and difficulties, it may almost be too hard to fix it.
mm-hmm.
Okay. It's too hard to fix it. Let's not even go there. All I'm trying to do is get to the next quarterly earnings for the stock market,
Yeah.
right? The second reason is, and a friend of mine told me this one time, and it's absolutely true. If you're the CEO and you're making significant amounts of money every year, right? And you've got stock options and you're just piling that stuff up and you are really sailing, why would you want to change anything?
Well,
Why would you want to do anything to your income stream or might want to do anything to your income stream? I think that plays. For years we've talked about what the golden handshake or the golden parachutes and different things like that from CEOs. And they're still prevalent today. I mean, you can go ahead.
I walked away from that, and you're right. And from a human's perspective, I can't blame them because they have a fiduciary responsibility to their family and who they are. So the fine line, though, and I know it's greed, right? That's where I'm challenged by that. When you see a disparity between leadership and the people who are making that leadership team successful?
I have said for years that the one difference that separates a leader from everybody else is they simply want to make a difference. You can make all the money. You can do all these things. Okay, fine. And yes, you do have a fiduciary responsibility to your own family. But the question is, do you want to make a difference? And I think people need to ask themselves that question more so than anything else right now, at least in the terms of leadership. I want to talk a bit about intrapreneurship in the world in which we live today, okay? One of the main focus areas for me this year is to encourage organizations to put significant effort, behind what I term rapid prototyping, okay? Especially since we now have a multitude of AI tools at our disposal. I'd love to get your reflection on that idea. When you look at products and services, for example, that an organization can bring to the market, and you have AI tools available, I'd love to get your reflection on the value, if you will, of rapid prototyping.
I think that it's much needed, and I firmly believe why we're having this conversation today is because of my entrepreneurship mindset, where I was always trying to look into new things before everyone else was using them. Because if everyone else is using the same tools, it's a commodity at that perspective. Everyone has the same tools. So growing up, I believe this, for growing up in a family of entrepreneurs, I had to learn the skill of being resourceful and using the resources at my disposal to accomplish what I was trying to accomplish. I think I know that is my superpower, just like it's your superpower, versus just saying, well, we've always done it like this, we're going to continue to do it like this, and we're going to be complacent. I will tell you that there's been chapters of my life that I've been like that. You need a break to be complacent and reflect. But the world we live in today is not the right time for that. If you're a CEO or a leader of an organization, or if you're career minded, right now is the time to start learning. However, be very selectful in who you're learning from, because unfortunately right now, there's a lot of people that realize that they can sell sizzle with nothing behind it. And I see that all the time. And that's where, in my industry, which is equipment financing and banking, I'm beating the drum to say, before you make a decision, I won't even charge you for this. Let me take a look at it, because I have resources. What was wonderful about this AI world, I'm getting exposure to people that are a lot smarter than I am, that have been living in this world a lot longer than we have, that are willing to help. Because think about the whole premise of AI. The whole premise of AI is decentralized information and data, where it's free to everyone, and everyone can use these if you want to.
If you're allowed to.
Well, that's a whole nother conversation. If you're allowed to. And I am becoming more and more vocal on this topic. I spoke 2 weeks ago in front of a group of 50 people in Minnesota, and I did make this statement, and I've really thought hard about this statement. I would love your perspective on it. I made this statement that if you are working inside of an organization today that is suppressing AI tools, or there's no discussion around AI literacy, and Copilot is not an AI tool, because if you just roll out Copilot to people without the proper training of how to drive Copilot with the prompting, and that's where, again, where I'm focusing my time, you should start looking for another organization, or start taking time to learn on your own, because you will be left behind. AI will not replace you. Who will replace you, John?
People who are familiar with and are now working with AI. As Jensen Huang, the CEO of NVIDIA, has says, you don't have to worry about AI taking your job. You have to worry about someone who understands AI and works with AI taking your job. And I think that's absolutely right on the mark. Mm-hmm. Absolutely right on the mark.
Good.
And let me reflect back to you on this. If the AI aspect, okay, if you're working in an organization and they're turning a blind eye to AI, the development of AI, the integration of AI in the work. I would come at it from a different perspective. And this is on the mission statement side of the house.
Yeah.
If you are looking for an organization, and the first thing I would, and you're a job seeker and you're looking to join an organization, the first thing I would tell you to do is get their mission statement. Find out what their mission statement is, okay? And you get one sentence. And because the number one want of people in this multi-generational workforce in the wake of the COVID pandemic is to work with an organization whose values align with that individual's. If this organization has 7 paragraphs for a mission statement, look someplace else. Look someplace else, because they can't express to you what their value system is. So how do they expect to bring someone into the organization who and want their values to align with theirs if they themselves can't articulate their own value system? What do you think of that idea?
I think you're spot on. And I've been speaking, when I talk around the topic of entrepreneurship, I'm very consistent with the same message. I maybe wasn't as direct, but I would walk in the presentation, speak to, if you are identifying as an entrepreneur and you have these traits, and it's amazing to see people have that aha moment. And then I say, let's lean into that because that's your superpower. John would say that if you are not aligned, if your values and who you want to be are not aligned with your company, find where you want to go. And maybe you don't have to go there right away, but start watching that company and find, because my career, I have picked and I'm always asked a question around career development from emerging talent. And I'm very adamant around career path. My company's not giving me your career path. I immediately say, why would you allow a company to give you your career path? Why aren't you dictating where you want to go? And guess what? It's not going to be a straight line. I live that, and I'm speaking from real life experience. I took a role with a company that I was drastically undercompensated. And my wife almost like, why are we doing this? And I said, hon, it has nothing to do about the compensation. It has everything to do about the knowledge base that I'm going to obtain in this role that will help me get to where we want to go. And that's a CEO role. People don't think like that. And I was fortunate enough to have a lifestyle that I can make those decisions. Just like right now, I made a conscious decision in October 2023 to leave a amazing job, which was my dream job. At the time, I had no idea why I was doing it. Now I know why. Because in February of last year, I spoke in California around innovation. And my message during that time was not AI focused. It was focused around who drives innovation within your organization. And we did a study in regards to Google search terms. Innovation was searched 10 times more than the innovator. So people are trying to shortcut innovation to find the secret sauce, and they're missing the most critical piece and element of their success, which is the human being who's the innovator, and that is your entrepreneur. And now with these tools, it's 10x. It's 100x.
Amazing. A lot of the secrets are not secrets. They're just right in front of people. You just have to look at it and embrace it and say, this is what I need to do. You know, when you talk about intrapreneurship and you talk about developing the innovation in an organization, I tell people a lot on my podcast, are probably getting tired of me saying this, but my leadership model that I started developing 30 years ago has one premise. And that premise is built on one foundation, one piece, one principle, and that is contribution. Who here, we have a problem. We have an issue that's before us. Anybody got any ideas? Anybody want to help? Who wants to jump in here and work with us? You know, step up step in, let's go together, that kind of a thing. And it puts aside as a trainer, for example, I make no judgments about people in the room. I never have, I never will. It's all about, you put people in a room, I train them. That's just the way it is. So, and that's what people expect me to do. And so the goal is to create an environment where people come to do their best work every single day. It's simple to say that, but sometimes it's very difficult to implement.
So that's
Any reflection
where
on that?
I completely agree with that. And that's where that's where I thought I was headed. I was developing what I call the Entrepreneurial Operating System. So everyone's heard of EOS, great book, amazing framework. What I was doing and what I was speaking about and starting to build out was, how does an organization implement this into their culture where you have free idea sharing? Because there's many stats, two main stats. One, and it doesn't matter where you read the stat, or there's a high percentage of individuals that come into work on a daily basis and are unengaged. They're just unengaged to no fault of their own. They're just unengaged. So that's the first area. The second thing is, you have to allow the people that are in the trenches on a daily basis an avenue, a vehicle to share their ideas, because 75% of these folks have ideas that will improve your organization. However, there's fear of messing up by providing that, or there's a fear of being blackballed, or there's a fear of, well, they don't get it and they're out. At Unify, we developed over time, because let's be honest, most CEOs or business owners, we think we're Superman. We've all gone through, I can do it. I can handle that. I know it all. Okay. And as soon as you realize you don't know it all and you want to see other people foster in that environment, it's game changing. However, the other big thing that takes place in corporate America or in business or in life is accountability and responsibility. And I know we're not here to talk about that, but most people don't like accountability, myself included. I don't want to be held accountable from my wife or my family or my boss. We all have bosses, right? So back to your strategic thinking of thinking back, reverse engineering, if you're a CEO or a business leader, reverse engineer that to the accountability as you as a leader, what you're doing for your organization right now, and the responsibility off of that accountability.
Yeah. I've been using this in presentations and in podcasts lately, because, and you talked about it, the Superman, the CEO is Superman. I kind of take just a bit of a different take on it. I said, what we've done over the course of the last 60 or 70 years is to create CEOs in the image of Jedi Knights, with the hope that, any issue or problem that appears before the organization, they'll come down, brandish their light sword, and drive away the problems, deal with the problems. And what I tell people today is, with the world as it's changing, the aftermath of COVID, and people no longer just wanting a paycheck, wanting values alignment, wanting to be involved in the decision-making processes of the organization, CEOs today have to really start thinking of themselves more like Yoda. Mm-hmm. So the idea is that your job is to raise a generation of Jedi Knights, to do the work, to take on the challenges, and be there for your folks, because you're the facilitator, you're the teacher, you're the one that creates the environment where they can learn. So that we had a saying in the Navy, and that was, a rising tide lifts all boats. Mm-hmm. And that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to create this rising tide so that everybody comes along together, and with the capability to deal with issues that change daily in many respects. So I think that's an issue that people are going to have to get around and start accepting and seeing themselves CEOs of large organizations, medium-sized organizations, encumbered, the large ones, of course, encumbered by the fear-based model of bureaucracy. A lot of people don't know that bureaucracy was built on fear. It was
and
built
lack of knowledge. And lack of tools and lack of knowledge. And because let me tell you, and I know we're not here to talk about this, but if you really think about this AI, these tools have been around forever. However, only a limited few had access to these. So the fear of, these tools don't work or they hallucinate. Yes, they do. They're only going to get better. And that's where the human element comes in to drive these. Now, where it's going to go 5 years, I have no idea. I'm on this train with you. So I'm not a futurist. I try and ask the right questions, but I remain open and curious. And then I have to make a decision of, is it going to be doomsday, or are we going to be in a better society as humans? But it comes back to the ethical piece, which is a big word. Everyone wants to talk about it. And I always go to, just like with AI, let's focus on one thing. When someone says, well, what about the ethical piece of it? Okay, what part of that would we like to focus on and discuss? And that leads to it. I would love to know from your perspective, have you leaned into AI? Or what is your thoughts on these tools, and how are you using them, or aren't you using them?
I was very resistant up until a couple of months ago. I'll be honest about it. About 3 months ago, I joined a group here where I live, a local group of the National Speakers Association. And just to get more information, to meet some people, and to find out and to explore how I can be a better speaker. And it was at the first meeting where I met, there were only about a handful of us, where they said, I expressed some ideas, and they said, oh, listen, you should go get a ChatGPT account and pay $20 a month, and you can kind of do some pretty magical things with it. So I said, you know what? I'm going to jump in. So I did. I got my $20 account. And I started feeding it. And I'll be honest with you, I shut off the piece that says train the rest of
Rightfully
ChatGPT.
so. You should do that. You should do that.
I shut it off. I said, I'm going to build a little bit of a wall here. Okay. So then I uploaded my book in PDF. I uploaded several documents, what's called SRT files, which are the subtitle files from podcasts. And I filled it full of stuff. And I was looking at a speaking opportunity, and I said, okay, why don't you go take a look at this website? And ChatGPT ran out, took a look at the website, came back and said, okay, got it. I said, let's put let's put something together. So it did. Hey, how about a bio? Can you do, let's work the bio problem. And I prompted it, come back. No, I want to add this piece. Okay. No, that's no good. Take this out. Okay. Put this in. And I got notified 2 days ago. I got that speaking opportunity. Bingo. And then another one did the same thing. It was actually earlier than this one. The one that the most recent one that I submitted was more, it was smoother. It was more detailed.
It goes back to the persona that I can help you with in terms of building out your persona, because there's amazing tools. Are you using Notebook LM or Notebook LM?
I've heard of it, but I'm not using it currently.
I could shoot a video and show you. So what I've done is I've taken all of my persona, every podcast I've ever done, every YouTube, took every transcript, put it into that to start building out tools for myself, as well as building out RJ's persona of the way that I speak. And now I can put that into my business development persona. And I probably have a half dozen ChatGPTs.
I'd love to take a look at it. One of the things I'm doing now is when I wrote my book, it took me 4 years and 4 months to write my book. It was because it's painful. It was very painful.
Yeah.
It was very painful. It was not a labor of love. I will tell you that right now. But it was more a duty. I felt like I needed to complete a duty to get it on the street. But anyway, I had several reviews done of it. And one person said, this is a master's degree of leadership in one book. It's basically, because it was very technical in a lot of the things. So I have I believe anyway, I have really, really good content. So what I'm doing now in the next several months is I'm going to put a series of online courses on Udemy. And I'm going to use my AI tools to help me orchestrate the outlines, the modules, and different things like that in order to speed the process along. I'll probably do a lot of manual kinds of things like adding motion graphics and stuff. Although I have an account on Veed, now put in suspense for a bit. But because I like building it myself. I'm like the clay modeling kind of guy. I like to take the motion graphics and mix and match them myself. And I think I can do a little bit better job there, make it more interesting. But
So
we'll see. We'll see.
I would like to expand on that. Two things. We've talked a lot about corporate America, and I would say that my North Star really isn't corporate America. It's the people within corporate America. It's not corporate America in itself. I feel my mission is to help the Davids of the world to compete against the Goliaths. And I've always been like that. At Unify, we were the small company competing against Huntington and the big companies. And I've been in the space of finance where you're responding to RFPs and you're doing $7-10 million transactions. At the end of the day, you're helping people. But really what I get excited about is when I go and when I was CEO at Unify and meet with a client and they start telling me their backstory of how they arrived where they did and how we helped, that's where I get goosebumps. It's like, because of us, we helped you, which reflection, and people forget about this. Not only did we help that company, we helped their family. And when I was leading as Unify, one of my mantras at Unify was, when you make a conscious decision, and we all have this during the day, you're not only affecting yourself and our team, guess what? You're affecting the extended family of our team, which is so-and-so's husband, my wife, by your action to make a conscious decision not to do what you're supposed to do. Right. And as soon as you start bringing it out, it becomes more personal.
Right. And it gets more important to people. People start accepting it here. It aches here to make sure you're doing the right thing. So I appreciate that very much. Yeah.
And I appreciate you, John, telling me that you were reluctant, and we all are. I'm just a weirdo that likes to, if there's something new, I want to know about it and I want to learn about it, and I would do that on my own time. I'll back up. You asked me where I came from. When I was 16 years old back in 1985, I guess I just dated myself. My buddies would get in my car with me, or 17. I'd be listening to AM radio. I was listening to Bruce Williams, if you know who Bruce Williams is. He was a business guru that was on AM radio. And they're like, dude, where's the music? I'm like, no, I want to. And I would listen to that. I would watch on Sunday night PBS a small business show around businesses that are growing. I live for business. I live for the art of, what do you do? How do you serve it? And the downside of that is I'm always asking, what can we do to improve it? And that's that, mixed blessing of I'm never complacent with, okay, we're doing it like this today. I'm not saying it's wrong, but what can we do for that next development or that next evolution?
It's funny. One of the previous guests I had is Arias Westerberry, and Arias, black man, hell of an upbringing. Both parents incarcerated at the same time. Yet his mother got out, took 2 jobs, put food on the table, made his way. And he told me, I thought this was cool. He said, in my little room where I lived, in my home, I didn't have pictures of sports heroes on my wall. I had pictures of CEOs of companies. And now today, he's a very successful entrepreneur. It's just, there's a switch. I don't know what happens. It just shows up one day for certain people in a different way. Mm-hmm. It doesn't mean that whoever has sports heroes on their wall is doing anything wrong. No. It's just different. That's what it is.
I was also a firm believer at a young age around mindset. Tony Robbins, Brian Tracy, Jim Rohn. It was so bad. I was playing Jim Rohn teams to my hockey. I was playing Jim Rohn tapes to my hockey teams when I was coaching them, trying to influence 10-year-olds and 11-year-olds about vision, how to vision and think differently.
Right.
It's just, but back to AI, I really think we're at a spot right now, and it will just continue to get faster and faster of the haves and have-nots. And from a human perspective, I really want to focus on, if it's just one thing, learn how to prompt. And what I mean by that of prompting is you have to have a persona of who you are, this is from a sales and marketing perspective. Okay. I'm not talking
Sure.
about automation. This is strictly sales and
Sure.
marketing. But the way that we used it at Unify before it was common was we would take a job description, we load in who we were from a cultural perspective, mission, vision, and then rewrite that job description to match. And then we were also adding entrepreneurship mindset. If you're a business owner and you are looking for very talented individuals to join your organization, and you're going to allow them to leverage their curiosity, just add that one little line: entrepreneurship mindset wanted.
I'll tell you an interesting thing. I just happened to run across this. You talk about prompt. The pay scale for prompt engineers right now is through the roof.
See, I haven't even looked at that. I'm just trying to help Joe learn how to drive these machines.
Prompt engineers are being paid somewhere north of $300,000 a year. So learning prompts is vital to how we make this system, make AI systems, if you will, respond.
I want to expand on that.
Okay.
I love that point. And quite honestly, I've learned I did not realize that. My messaging, though, is that's wonderful that prompt engineer can do that. However, if they don't have the contextual knowledge of the business and the industry and who they're serving, you can be the greatest prompter in the world, but your output's going to be not to the industry or who you are. So there's a layer in there that people are missing, because at the end of the day, if you use, again, Copilot, ChatGPT, Salesforce, Einstein, it doesn't matter what tool you're using.
Right.
The differentiator is everyone's going to have these tools. It's how you're going to drive these tools, which is going to be the difference maker for everyone involved. At least today. Now, 3 years from now, it'll probably be something completely different. But today, where we sit, that's from a personal perspective, that's the number one thing that people can focus on. Don't worry about the different tools, because matter of fact, I've already built a tool that you can put your task in, and it'll tell you which model you want to use. But this is what I love when I present, they'll say, how much is it for ChatGPT? $20. And I'm talking to people that earn six figures, mid six figures. Oh, geez. I'm like, $20? It's 2 Starbucks lattes. And I guarantee that $20 is going to give you 1,000% return as soon as you figure out or learn how to use it.
Yeah. I pride myself in the fact that I may not know something today, but I'll know it. Mm-hmm. And when I get my arms around it, I'll be really good at it. Maybe not the best, but I'll be really, really good at it. And that's how I see my future with AI, ChatGPT, whatever tool I'm using in the next year or so.
So my poor family, we've gotten to the point in my family that before they come and ask me a question, they know my answer. They do. And my wife now is, I don't need you anymore. This thing's got all the answers. I'm like, well, hon, the human is still needed, okay? Because she has bought in. And this is my wife was a stay-at-home mom that worked her tail off while I'm all over the place working long hours, supporting 2 boys that play hockey, which is a very demanding sport to support, okay? And she has now bought in. She's like, I get this now. Wow. So she's redoing our kitchen. She's running through everything through AI, what appliances. And she's like, this is incredible. I'm like,
and she can see it. And now she can see it before it is. So
it's not RJ on this crazy harebrained, look at these tools. It's okay. Now I see. Right. Now I understand it. And just like yourself, everyone has to have that aha moment. And if you haven't had that aha moment yet, email me, RJ at the AI CEO, and we will show you a couple of things for you to have that if you want to.
Right, that's great. So RJ, you led into this question. I'm gonna ask you this question if I can, and we'll let this be the last question if that's okay. All right, because we're getting close to the end. One of the themes of my work this year is, or the major theme is, the future of work, meaning is the new money. Okay? Do you think it is feasible or possible for people who may feel that technology is overwhelming at times, like an AI. It's just so much coming at you all the time. To find meaning in this technological world? And if so, how might you advise them to do that?
Wonderful question. And I've thought deeply on this. And I believe it's going to come around community. People are going to want to feel part of something. And I'm in a couple communities right now with AI that I'm being introduced to people that I would have never, ever had the time of day to talk to that are in this space. And I'm building these relationships now because it's different. We talk different in AI. It's almost strange to a certain degree, John, because I have to change gears. Like today, when I go to lunch with my attorney buddy, I have to change gears and become more focused on the human connection, because these AI tools, when you start using them, you are completing tasks at a much faster pace, at a higher quality. You're going to have free time. So what's happening right now, so yes, I agree with that statement. I've thought hard about it, and it's going to be around community and the feeling of the purpose that you're serving the marketplace. So if you're working for an organization, rewind to what we talked about 20 minutes ago and make sure you're aligned with the organization. When I joined Unify, the reason I joined Unify is that the Bank of Ann Arbor, who was the parent bank, I was aligned with, community focused. At the time in 2013, social media focused. I was big in social media. Like, this is the difference of how we're going to grow our business. A leader that was passionate and had a motto of work hard, play hard. That resonated with me. Okay. That, I believe, is going to become that much more important as we continue down this road, this path. You look at things like school, which is a community where people can go in and learn certain things. There's free communities, there's paid communities. You look at Facebook groups. People want to be around like-minded people and feel a sense of community. And if you're a leader of your organization, start thinking about that, of how you can start developing that within your organization. And community is not, hey, we're going to all go to lunch at Ruby Tuesday for a team lunch. That's not connection. That's not community. And don't be offended if everyone in your organization doesn't want to buy in to community. Some people want to be left alone, show up, that's okay too.
Yeah.
That's okay too.
But yeah, I think, go ahead.
No, I'm finished. That's what I believe.
My concern is leadership, and is it still important? And I think the answer is, it may be more important now than it's ever been before, provided you're using an idea of leadership that is part of allowing people, giving people the opportunity to participate, be involved, not just participate, be involved in the future direction of the organization, and in a sense, their own future direction as well.
And I appreciate that, John, but you'd be shocked, because I believe that 100%. But you'd be shocked when you ask people in your organization their thoughts on one of the things that we would always hear, because we were always surveying our team, was there's not enough communication. Right? I don't care who you ask any employee right now, and they're not enough. Well, what would you like to see? What would you like to hear more of? 9 out of 10 times, people can't give you an answer.
That's
They'll
right.
say, I don't know. They just need to do it more. And then we would have town halls and give the presentation, and there'd be no questions. And it's like, okay, you want more communication. I'm taking the time to build this all out to make sure that it's value, and then it's crickets.
Right. Well, that's the importance of trust. The ability of people to say, okay, I can say whatever I want to say. I'm safe. Mm-hmm. I'm safe to say whatever I say, even if I'm in gross disagreement with what the organization is saying right now.
I completely agree with you, the trust. And I'm not sure, I love your opinion. How much trust is there right now in the workforce?
Well, we're living through what many people call a trust deficit. Mm-hmm. And trust is not a trait, by the way. It's a value. Mm-hmm. It's a value that people share. And I think, and here's the funny thing about trust. If you and I sat here for an hour, RJ, and spoke about trust, we would never build any trust. Trust is a byproduct of action. So, for example, if someone said to me, hey, John, I really need that report, 10 o'clock Tuesday morning. Can you do that for me? Sure. 9:45, I send them the report. We've built a little trust. We've built a little trust because they can trust me. They trusted me to get them the report on time. I got them the report on time. We built a little trust. But that takes time. It takes time to build that trust over a period of time.
And I have learned this, and I'm going to be extremely vulnerable. I've learned that you can lose that trust in a heartbeat too.
Instantaneously, right.
So it takes years to earn or months to earn or whatever that time. But with one action, one behavior, you can lose it like that. And it's going to be that much more to earn it back, if you ever earn it back.
When I was a naval officer, the thing I learned was that trust was the fuel that drove the engine of my department or my division. And you can lose it. And one way you can lose it is you only tell people the good news and you never tell them the bad news. Mm-hmm. You got to tell them all the news. Mm-hmm. You got to be honest to the bone all the time. You may not say, listen, I wish it was different, but this is what's going on. And they have to deal with it. But they can never say, he lied to me. He kept me in the dark. He never said, he never told us what the real issues or the real problems are. I'm going to kind of end it here if we can. I want to thank you so very much for your time today. I appreciate it very much here on the Throttle Up Leadership Podcast. I've had a wonderful time. We may do this again in the future.
Sure.
I look forward to it. So
I'm humbled to be here. I appreciate you giving me an avenue to be able to tie up this conversation, which I felt was extremely valuable for myself included. I've learned from you during this time together, and I look forward to learning more. I've already started following you more from you because I think that you have a lot to offer people if they're willing to take a time and learn. And that's the other thing is I've found myself trying to structure my days around learning, because if I was all AI all the time, I forget about the mindset. I forget about the leadership. I forget about change management and reading articles, because it can become overwhelming and you have to have different pieces to make you a whole person, or at least attempt to work on that. And the human element and the trust and everything we talked about in mindset is so important. So I appreciate you allowing me to be here to speak, and I look forward to continuing our relationship.
Yeah, me too. Great to have you. So listen, you have a wonderful day, and thanks again for your time. I appreciate it.
Thanks, John.